She has been through loss that would break most people. She buried the love of her life, raised her daughter alone, kept her family together, and somehow still showed up every single day with an open heart. Amy Fleming does not give up on people. That is just who she is. So when someone like her picks up the phone and dials the police on someone she trusted, you know something went very, very wrong. This is not a small moment. This is not a misunderstanding or a dramatic overreaction. This is Amy Fleming drawing a line in the sand and saying enough is enough. And the reason she did it, the secret Nathan had been hiding right under everyone's nose, is the kind of thing that changes everything. Not just for Amy, not just for Nathan, but for every single person living under the Heartland roof. So before you watch another episode without knowing this, stay with us. Because what you are about to hear is going to completely change how you see Season 20. When Nathan first showed up in Heartland, he did not feel like a threat. He felt like a breath of fresh air. He was calm, he was kind, and he had this easy way of being around horses that made Amy pay attention. And when Amy Fleming pays attention to you, you know you are doing something right. She does not open up to just anyone. Not after everything she has been through. Not after Ty. But Nathan had something. He had patience. He had warmth. He never tried too hard or pushed too fast. He just showed up, did the work, and let things happen naturally. And slowly, the audience started to root for him. The comments were full of people saying he felt different, that he genuinely seemed good for Amy, that maybe, just maybe, Heartland was finally giving her a love story worth believing in again. Even the Heartland family seemed to accept him. And anyone who watches this show knows that getting past Lou and Jack is not easy. These are people who protect Amy like she is made of glass, and they had every reason to be suspicious of any new men walking into her life. But Nathan passed the test. He fit in. He felt real. That is exactly what made what came next so painful to watch. Because the person everyone trusted, the person who seemed so genuine and so steady, had been carrying something dark the entire time. Something he never once mentioned. Something he actively worked to keep hidden. And the longer he hid it, the worse it got. Nobody hides something perfectly forever. That is just not how people work. No matter how calm someone appears on the outside, the truth has a way of leaking through the edges. A hesitation that lasts a second too long. An answer that does not quite match the question. A look in the eyes that disappears the moment you try to catch it. And with Nathan, those moments started coming more and more frequently as Season 20 moved forward. It started small. So small that most viewers did not even catch it the first time. Nathan would step away to take phone calls without saying who it was. He would go quiet in conversations that touched certain topics. There were moments where Amy would ask him something completely normal, something any couple would talk about, without thinking twice, and Nathan would redirect the conversation so smoothly that you almost did not notice it happened. Almost, Amy noticed. She did not say anything at first because that is who she is. She gives people room. She gives people grace. She learned that from a lifetime of working with animals that had been hurt or scared or mishandled by people who did not understand them. You do not corner something that is already afraid. You give it space and you wait. So she waited, but the waiting only gave Nathan more time to keep the walls up. And as the season pushed forward, those walls started to show cracks that even patience could not ignore. There was one episode in particular where Nathan received a message that visibly shook him. His whole body changed. His jaw tightened. His eyes went somewhere far away. And when Amy asked him what was wrong, he smiled and said nothing. Just nothing. Like whatever that message contained had absolutely no weight at all. That was the moment. A lot of fans stopped giving Nathan the benefit of the doubt. Because nothing does not make a grown man look like that. Nothing does not make your hands go still and your face go blank. Something was coming. Everyone watching could feel it. And Amy, standing right there in front of him, could feel it too. There's a specific kind of pain that comes not from being lied to, but from realizing how long the lie has been sitting right next to you, sharing your space, eating at your table, looking you in the eyes every single morning. That kind of pain does not hit you all at once. It creeps in slowly, like cold water rising around your feet. And by the time you feel how deep it is, You are already standing in the middle of it. That is exactly where Amy found herself in season 20. It was not a dramatic confrontation that broke everything open. It was not a screaming match or a caught phone call or a stranger showing up at the door with answers. It was quieter than that, more personal than that. Amy stumbled across something that Nathan had kept buried so carefully that finding it almost felt like an accident. But nothing about what she found was accidental. It had been there the whole time, tucked underneath the version of himself that Nathan had been presenting to everyone around him. What she discovered was not just a secret. It was a pattern, a history, a series of choices that Nathan had made long before he ever set foot on Heartland property, choices that did not belong to the man he had been pretending to be. And the deeper Amy looked, the more she realized that the warmth, the patience, the easy smile, all of it had been carefully constructed to make sure nobody ever looked too closely at what was underneath. And here is what makes this moment so gutting to watch as an audience. Amy is not a naive person. She has been hurt before. She has loved deeply and lost deeply and rebuilt herself from the ground up more than once. She knows what real looks like because she lived it with Ty for years. So when she found what she found, it was not just shock that hit her. It was something closer to grief. The grief of realizing that what she thought was finally something real was built on a foundation that was never solid to begin with. She sat with it for a moment. Just her and the truth and the silence of everything falling apart around her. And then Amy Fleming, the woman who gives everyone every possible chance, made a decision that nobody who knows her character saw coming. She stopped waiting. She stopped giving grace. She picked up the phone and she made a call that could not be taken back. There is something about watching a person reach their absolute limit that stays with you long after the screen goes dark. It is not the anger that gets you. It is not even the tears. It is the stillness. That quiet, cold, unshakable stillness that takes over a person when they have made up their mind and there is no going back. That is what Amy looked like in that moment. Not broken, not falling apart. Decided. She did not pace the room. She did not call Lou first or go find Jack or lean on anyone the way she normally would. She stood exactly where she was, looked down at what she had found, and dialed. And the moment that call connected, the moment she opened her mouth and started speaking to the person on the other end, the entire world of Heartland shifted on its axis because Amy calling the police was not just a plot moment. It was a character moment. It was the show telling its audience that this woman, after everything she has survived, after every wall she let down and every risk she took on love again, still has a backbone made of iron. She was not doing it out of anger. She was not doing it to hurt Nathan. She was doing it because what she found made it the only right thing to do. And Amy Fleming has always chosen what is right, even when it cost her everything. The fallout hit Heartland like a wave. Lou, who had started to genuinely warm up to Nathan, went completely silent in that way that is somehow louder than any reaction she could have shown. Jack, who had shaken Nathan's hand and looked him in the eye and given him the kind of quiet approval he does not hand out easily, looked like a man who was angry at himself for not seeing it sooner. And Lindy, sweet and sharp and more aware than any child her age should have to be, felt the change in the air even before anyone sat her down to explain it. The Heartland family did not collapse. They never do, but they bent in a way that was hard to watch. Because Nathan had not just fooled Amy, he had fooled all of them. And that is a different kind of wound entirely. The kind that makes people question their own judgment long after the person who caused it is gone. As for Nathan, once his secret was fully out in the open and the people he had been hiding it from were standing in the full light of the truth, there was nowhere left to go. The carefully built version of himself that he had carried into Heartland crumbled completely. And what was left underneath was not a villain. That would have been easier to deal with. What was left was something more complicated and more sad. A person who had made choices he could not undo and had spent so long running from them that he forgot they were still attached to him. Now the real question hanging over the rest of Season 20 is not about Nathan at all. It is about Amy. Where does she go from here? How does a person who has already rebuilt herself once find the strength to do it again? And the answer, If this show has taught us anything across 20 seasons, is that she does it the same way she has always done everything. One day, one horse, one honest breath at a time. With her family around her and her feet on the ground and that quiet, unbreakable belief that the next chapter is still worth showing up for, that is what makes Amy Fleming one of the most compelling characters on television. Not the love stories, not the heartbreaks, but the fact that no matter what gets taken from her, she never lets anyone take her sense of who she is. And after what happened with Nathan, that truth has never been more clear.